Friends, in this video, we are discussing a living legend, Bob Dylan, and his legendary song of 1964, The Times They Are Changin'. Let's take a look at his life in brief. Born on the 24th of May 1941, 80 years now, Bob Dylan is an American folk singer. Dylan is often regarded as the Shakespeare of his generation. He has been a major figure in popular culture during a career spanning 60 years. His songs were not mere love songs. Dylan filled his lyrics, the lyrics of his rock and roll, with brainy stuff, the intellectualism of classic literature and poetry. We can see this in this song. Dylan became famous during the 1960s. In America, the 60s was a time when the civil rights movement was at its peak. The fight, the struggle for civil and economic rights and an end to racism and slavery was at its very best moment in its history. Please remember, it was at this time, on the 28th of August 1963, that Martin Luther King Jr., the American civil rights activist, delivered his historic speech, "I Have a Dream," to a huge gathering of 250,000 people at Lincoln Memorial at the end of the Great March on Washington. Bob Dylan's songs such as "Blowing in the Wind" of 1963 and "The Times They Are Changin'" 1964 became anthems for two major movements of the time, the civil rights movement and the anti-war movement. Remember, the American sentiments were very strong against the ongoing Vietnam War in 1964. So we can say that these songs were also songs of protest. Dylan's lyrics during this period contained a lot of political and social influences of the time. In all, Bob Dylan has written more than 500 songs, recorded by more than 2,000 artists all over the world. He has sold more than 125 million albums. It made him one of the best-selling musicians of all time. Dylan has received numerous awards, including the Presidential Medal of Freedom in 2012 from President Barack Obama, 10 Grammy Awards, the Golden Globe Awards in 2001, and an Oscar in 2001 for the best original song that was his famous song, "Things Have Changed." The Pulitzer Prize Board in 2008 awarded him a special citation for his profound impact on popular music and American culture, marked by lyrical compositions of extraordinary poetic power. In 2016, Dylan was awarded the Nobel Prize in Literature for having created new poetic expressions within the great American song tradition. Bob Dylan has toured around the globe consistently, playing over 3,000 concerts. Dylan has attained the status of an icon. His influence on contemporary culture is very, very profound. Well, that is Bob Dylan, friends. Let's listen to that legendary song, "The Times They Are A-Changin'." The poem is in 5 stanzas of 11 lines each, a total of 55 lines. Let's listen to the song.
Come gather round, people, wherever you roam, and admit that the waters around you have grown, and accept it that soon you will be drenched to the bone. If your time to you is worth saving, then you better start swimming, or you will sink like a stone, for the times they are a-changin'. Come, writers and critics who prophesize with your pen, and keep your eyes wide. The chance won't come again, and don't speak too soon, for the wheel's still in spin, and there is no telling who that it is naming, for the loser now will be later to win, for the times they are a-changin'. Come, senators, congressmen, please heed the call. Don't stand in the doorway, don't block up the hall. For he that gets hurt will be he who has told. There is a battle outside, and it is raging. It will soon shake your windows and rattle your walls, for the times they are a-changin'. Come, mothers and fathers throughout the land, and don't criticize what you can't understand. Your sons and your daughters are beyond your command. Your old road is rapidly aging. Please get out of the new one if you can't lend your hand, for the times they are a-changin. The line it is drawn, the curse it is cast, the slow one now will later be fast, as the present now will later be past. The order is rapidly fading, and the first one now will later be last, for the times they are a-changin.
Oh, that is fantastic, isn't it? An immortal song that has inspired hundreds of millions of freedom lovers all over the world. The song was composed to influence the younger generation. The ongoing civil rights movement was the main inspiration of the song. It also reflects the frustration and the anger of the American people towards the ongoing Vietnam War. It calls upon the people to come together and to bring about a change that was very, very urgent. The poem exhorts the common people to stand united against the injustice, discrimination, and human rights violation. Remember, it also provides an optimistic assurance to the downtrodden and the oppressed that the times are changing, that the day is not far when they will be able to steer the destiny of the nation as well as themselves. Now, take a look at the first stanza. Come gather round, people, wherever you roam, and admit that the waters around you have grown. The first stanza gives the summary of the song. The opening line, come gather round, people, tells the villagers to gather around. It's typical of the folk traditions to ask people to gather around when there is some new announcement. Something new is about to happen, something ominous. Things are going to change. Now look at the poem. And admit that the waters around you have grown, and accept it that soon you will be drenched to the bone. Well, look at the beautiful metaphor of a great flood that is going to destroy everything. It is a reference to the flood in the Bible in Genesis chapters 6 to 9. Well, the Bible says, God found the earth filled with wickedness, corruption, and violence. So God said that He is going to punish everyone on the earth. And He said, I will cause it to rain upon the earth 40 days and 40 nights, and every living substance that I have made will I destroy from off the face of the earth. This is what God said. It is in Genesis chapter 7 verse 4. So God was going to punish the people of the earth for corruption, wickedness, and violence. He also advised Noah, the just man, to escape in an ark made of gopher wood. He instructed him to put all his belongings, his house and everything into the ark and escape. Now similarly, things were very wicked and evil in the US at that time in the 1960s. No justice and fairness. There was slavery, oppression, and discrimination based on the color of the skin. Well, now that is going to end. The old world is going to be destroyed in the upcoming flood, and we are going to see the dawn of a brave new world, a just, fair, and free world where the so far oppressed and marginalized people will be the rulers. They are going to steer the new world. So, and admit that the waters around you have grown, and accept it that soon you will be drenched to the bone. Dylan is telling the people all over the world that the waters around them are swelling. He's asking the people to realize that they are going to be drowned in the swollen waters. If your time to you is worth saving, then you better start swimming. Now, if you want to save your life from drowning, well, start swimming. Come on, escape. Just like what God advised Noah to escape from the flood. Now look at the lines. Or you will sink like a stone, for the times they are changing. Now if you don't escape by swimming, well, you will sink like a stone. Look at the beautiful simile. If you don't swim to safety, well, you will sink to the bottom of the sea like a stone. For the times they are changing. Now stanza 2. The folk atmosphere is repeated in the second stanza also. If Dylan addressed the people all over the world in the first stanza, in the second stanza, he shifts his focus to the writers and journalists. If in the first stanza he used the metaphor of a flood, here in the second stanza he is using another metaphor, the metaphor of a spinning wheel. Now take a look at the stanza. Come, writers and critics, who prophesize with your pen, and keep your eyes wide. The chance won't come again, and don't speak too soon, for the wheel's still in spin. He calls upon those who prophesize with their pens to take note of the change. For when the times are changing, they never know what is going to happen. He advises the writers and the critics not to speak ill of them, not to criticize them unnecessarily, not to blame them. He also tells them not to speak too soon, not to be in a hurry, because things are evolving, things are changing. Let them wait. Wait and see what is going to happen. For the wheel is still in spin, and there is no telling who that it's naming, for the loser now will be later to win. Since the wheel is in spin, meaning there is a lot of things that are still happening. Dylan explains that the loser now will be later to win. So this is the time for the journalists and the writers to watch the world with the sharper eyes. Surprising events happen all the time, and the modern journalists and writers should be able to foresee them. Dylan says that the loser now will be later to win, for the times they are changing. Now take a look at stanza 3. In the third stanza, he shifts his focus on the lawmakers, the senators, and the congressmen, also with a new metaphor of a raging battle. Come, senators, congressmen, please heed the call. Don't stand in the doorway. Don't block up the hall, for he that gets hurt will be he who has stalled. There's a battle outside, and it is raging. It will soon shake your windows and rattle your walls, for the times they are a-changin. Dylan asks the senators and the congressmen to listen to the call from those people who want a change and to act in a responsible manner. Unfortunately, many congressmen, many senators, and many lawmakers, and those who are involved in government affairs, they only work in their own best interests. Many of them are very, very selfish people who are involved in the lawmaking business in the conventional way. They are not ready for a change. When the people demand change, Dylan points out that the senators and the congressmen cannot stand in the doorway. They cannot block their way. They simply cannot create roadblocks. He says, don't stand in the doorway. Don't block up the hall. For he that gets hurt will be he who has stalled. Dylan tells these lawmakers not to block those who work for freedom. If the politicians block the way of the people who fight for change, well, they are going to be hurt very, very badly. The people who are working for change will break their windows and shake their walls, because there is a battle outside and it is raging. It will soon shake your windows and rattle your walls, for the times they are a-changin. Look at the metaphor of the battle that is raging outside. It will soon shake your windows and rattle your walls, because a change is imminent. A change is about to happen. There is going to be a radical change, for the times they are changing. Now take a look at stanza 4. The last group of people that Bob Dylan addresses consists of parents, fathers and mothers. Come, mothers and fathers throughout the land, and don't criticize what you can't understand. Your sons and your daughters are beyond your command. Your old road is rapidly aging. Please get out of the new one if you can't lend your hand, for the times they are a-changin. Dylan reminds the parents that children are the future. He advises the parents not to criticize what they don't understand. He says, your sons and your daughters are beyond your command. He says that the parents should not attempt to send their children on the path of the dusty, aging old road. Look at the metaphor here, the metaphor of an old, dusty road. Your old road is rapidly aging. The roads used by the parents are old, dusty roads full of pits and potholes. Parents are accustomed to the dusty roads. They are not familiar with the new road. Dylan is talking about a cultural change that is happening. Every parent wants his children to have the best, but sometimes their best is not the best for their children. Dylan advises the parents not to block the decision-making processes of their children. And every time a parent stands directly in the way of a dream, well, the future grows less bright. For the times they are changing. Now take a look at stanza 5. The battle has begun and the line is drawn by the youth, the younger generation. The line it is drawn, the curse it is cast. The slow one now will later be fast, as the present now will later be past. The order is rapidly fading, and the first one now will later be last, for the times they are a-changin. So the battle has begun, and the line is drawn. The curse of the past will be overthrown. The slow one now will later be fast, as the present now will later be past. Those who are fighting for the freedom and the rights are a minority now, but soon they'll be the ones ruling and making the change, as the present now will later be the past. The order is rapidly fading, and the first one now will later be last. Well, in the Bible, Jesus made the statement, many who are first will be last, and many who are last will be first. The established order is rapidly fading. It shows that there is a change that is taking place. The last stanza shows the universal and the perpetual nature of the change. For the times they are a-changin. Well, friends, this is that immortal poem, the song immortalized by Bob Dylan. When you take a look back at the poem, you can see that it is a clarion call for change, for a revolution, a radical change. It is a wake-up call to the younger generation. Written in the climax of the civil rights movement and the frustration and the anger of the American people towards the Vietnam War, the poem exhorts the common people to stand united against injustice, injustice of all sorts. The line that is repeated through the stanza, for the times they are a-changin, it is an optimistic assurance that times are changing. The poem is memorable for the beautiful metaphors that it contains. For example, in the first stanza, the metaphor of the swelling floods. In the second stanza, the metaphor of the spinning wheel. In the third stanza, of the raging battle. And in the fourth stanza, the metaphor of the old road. The simile used in the first stanza is also remarkable. Dylan says, "Or you will sink like a stone." No wonder the song stands out as a landmark in the history of the world, as a beacon of hope to hundreds of millions of marginalized people across the globe. So that's it. Thank you very much. See you in the next video.